Parents Corner, episode 3. All right, so we've got a space set up. We talked about special clothes. Now there is the question of, well, what are we going to do? And so sometimes they'll go through one of the videos that we put up to practice material or to go through a class. And they may do that with you and with your help, or they may do it on their own, sort of depending. Some students are also going to know enough of their stuff and have enough comfort level with it that they'll be able to practice on their own from their list. We're going to make lists available to you. Don't worry about that. Just keep checking back. Now, when you're working with your students, the big thing to remember is think about this in the same way that playing catch gets you ready for baseball. And so as you play catch, you're working on two really important aspects, which is the throw and the catch. But there's not a whole lot of fine tuning that has to happen. A lot of physical skills, your body sorts out inefficiencies on its own, and it happens pretty gradually over time. Especially as you've watched your kids grow and develop, you've probably seen as they go through stages, not just from crawling to walking, but when they are able to finally jump, or when they go to kick a ball, the way that sort of progresses as they get better at it. And so martial arts moves, punches, blocks, kicks, the animal techniques, forms, all of those things, the repetitions, their body smooths out some of the rough edges on its own. And so rather than focusing on correcting them as they go and sort of focusing on mistakes, what we want to focus on with practice is momentum. And so obviously we don't want them to do something that will damage their body a whole bunch of reps in a row. And so throwing a punch where they lock their elbow and things like that, those are things that we want to correct because it's not good for their joints. But if they're doing a block and they're using the wrong hand, or they're doing a technique and they're getting right, left flipped, if they're doing punches and it looks different on one side than the other side, those are all things that correct themselves over time as their brain develops and as their body develops. So rather than having to fixate on correcting those details, especially for students that get right, left flipped. So if your kid is one of the children that gets right, left flipped very easily, don't fixate on that within the karate. Most of the time, it's not always that they're left-handed, but most of the time it's just the way that their eyes and their brain interpret the information that they're seeing. They reflect what they're seeing, and that's why their hands end up left instead of right or whatever. And that's if they learn it on one side and can do it well, I don't need the hands to be exactly perfect. That's a detail that we correct later on as they're more comfortable with the material, and especially for the kids that are at an age where they don't really understand the difference between right and left anyway, we don't fixate on that detail because it isn't that critical. The motion is the important part, not the right leftness of it. So if your student is one of the ones that does the 8-point blocking system, left hand first instead of right hand first, don't worry about it. If they're doing their blocks right, if they're able to see something moving towards them and they get their arm in the way in the correct way at the correct time, that is infinitely more important than understanding the difference between the right and left hand, at least from where we're sitting as instructors. Because we want them to do the material, and we want the material to function correctly. And so sometimes the right leftness of that matters, but most of the time it actually doesn't. And so as you practice, make sure you sort of focus on these details, okay? Are they balanced? Are they powerful? And are they in it? Right? Are they intentional about what they're doing? And so sometimes kids need to flail. And so we don't have to fix that all the time. Sometimes kids go off balance, sometimes they stay balanced. We want to encourage them to stay balanced, not necessarily correct them when they're off balance. If they're throwing punches or blocks, we want to see that the structure of their body is generating power. And so we want to encourage them to be powerful and encourage them to be balanced We don't need to fix it if it's not perfect. Because the reps are going to fix better than 90% of most of the things that, like kids that are white belts, if they stay with us long enough to become black belts, repetitions fix so many things. And the body just corrects it on its own. Because most of the time, if they're doing something incorrect, it's because there's a muscle or something that's doing more work than it should be. So over time, it fixes it on its own. So those are details to sort of focus on as you guys practice together. Other Parents Corner videos, we're going to start introducing drills so that you have things that you can do with them. Don't involve a screen, don't involve me. And then it's really like playing catch. It gives you an opportunity to help them practice something they're interested in, so you get to be involved in it. And it's also a really good opportunity to kind of connect with them in this different way. And you get to connect with them through their martial art, which I really like because that's sort of what I do. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.